Welcome to the all-new Sick and Tired of Being Sick and Tired. I'm your host, Rachel Ash, and I'm here today with my co-host, Juhi Singh, founder of the Juhi Ash Center. Juhi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you. And we have another very, very special guest today. She's one of my favorite people. She's also one of my personal doctors, Dr. Suzanne Steinbaum.
Hi.
Hey, Suzanne. And I just want to give our listeners a little bit of a background on Suzanne. Not only Suzanne, you're a phenomenal cardiologist. You specialize in cardiology, heart disease, and prevention. You were the director of Women's Cardiovascular Prevention, Health, and Wellness at Mount Sinai in New York. You were also the director of Women's Heart Health at Northwell Lenox Hill for 12 years. You're an author. You've written the Heart Book, Every Woman's Guide to a Heart Healthy Life. And you also you teach, you educate, you speak to women about how to lead their healthiest lives, living from your heart. And you really you've got a ton of press. You've been in the New York Times. You've been listed as a super doctor, Castle and Connolly top doctor for cardiovascular disease, and New York Magazine's prestigious best doctor in New York. So it is just such a pleasure to have you here. And you have a big announcement, too. You have recently gone into private practice.
I did. I have landed in the Juhi Ash Center and am now part of the team, and it's amazing being there.
It is amazing to have you. And I know, Juhi, you were so excited to have Dr. Steinbaum on board as part of the center as well.
I mean, she won't say it, but I will. This is arguably the best cardiologist in the country. And so, yes, it's an honor to have her in the practice. It's an honor to work with her and to be able to deliver the efficacy that we do in terms of patient care.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I'm a personal fan. Suzanne, you've helped me with an issue that I thought that I had, and it was something that I thought I had for 15-something years. I saw Suzanne. She straightened me out in about half an hour, and I've been fine ever since. And I think for women, that's one of the things that, we don't always take care of ourselves. We don't always listen to our hearts. And there's so much about women and women's heart health that you teach, that you educate, that you help your patients with. You're more than a doctor. So I'm so excited that you're part of the Juhi Ash Center. You're such an asset. And for anybody who is not familiar with Suzanne, I know a lot of people already know her. She's somebody that in terms of heart health, you really want to get to know. But Suzanne, really importantly, you'd been in hospital settings for many years. You dominated those settings. You created women's heart programs. You've spoken nationally, internationally. You've written books. Why now? Why private practice now?
I started in women and heart disease before there was such a thing as women and heart disease. And when I was finishing my residency, there was a woman that was wheeled into the emergency room, and she was clutching her chest. She was nauseous, vomiting, sweating. And she was put in the corner, given the diagnosis of gastroenteritis, and she proceeded to have a heart attack in front of our eyes in the emergency room. And when I turned around and I said, women are dying of heart disease, don't you see that? I was told women don't get heart disease. And I said, that's it, I'm on a mission. So I went to the chief of cardiology and I said, I want to do a women and heart disease fellowship. And he said, there is no such thing. And I thought, well, then we have to prevent this disease. I want to do a preventive cardiology fellowship. And he looked at me and he said, there is no such thing. And I said, well, can we make it? And he was like, oh. And I was so lucky that he made it. And I did some of the original work on prevention and got involved with Go Red for Women through the American Heart Association right in the beginning of time. It's been now 16 years. I feel like we've really come a long way. When we talk about women and heart disease, there's an awareness now when there never was. There are women and heart disease centers all over this country when there was no such thing of it when I started. And as time has gone on, what I realize is that as medicine is changing, people are changing. People are becoming more educated, more proactive. There's no longer that sense that your doctor is a god and I'm going to do what he says, but really people come in with articles, information. Listen, we're here talking today about health. This is what's empowering people. So the conversation needs to change, and the way that patients need to be approached needs to be different. And while this was going on, the hospitals turned into a big bureaucracy. It's a business now. And really, doctors have 15 minutes to see every single patient. And I will tell you, if you go on Twitter, doctors are getting burnt out. There's information that's not really getting passed along because there's no time to communicate. And I feel like the next stage in my career is really creating prevention, uniquely personalized, and looking at each patient individually, but not just their hearts, their minds, how they perceive themselves personally and in the world, what their perception is of life, if they're optimistic, pessimistic, depressed, anxious, are they socially isolated, who are they? And then we get to look at their hearts, and then we get to look at them in a very different way because we look at them holistically as human beings and not as organ systems or disease processes. It was so interesting for me to meet Juhi and hear somebody who's looking at people's bodies holistically through acupuncture, through her training in Ayurvedic medicine. So here's the other side of the equation. Someone who can holistically look at people and deal with the underlying causes oftentimes of disease, like inflammation, like stress. And so I thought, oh my goodness, this is the other side. This is the piece of the puzzle. And I believe and I'm hoping that in this next phase of my career that Juhi and I, not hoping, I'm pretty sure we're going to do it.
I think so too.
That Juhi and I are really going to change how people think of their own health and how maybe medicine approaches patients. Maybe we'll bring back some humanity into medicine and we'll really put patients in the center of the system the way it should be and not the business.
And I know, Juhi, you're thrilled because your personal ethos and the ethos at the Juhi Ash Center is treating everybody uniquely, that everyone should be treated on an individual basis. And just the way that you approach your patients is the same way.
Absolutely. There is no one-size-fits-all approach, and it is so important to look at the human being. We have to put the human back in the human being and look at the entire system. It is not okay just to look at one facet. You know, if there's something going wrong in one part of the body, it doesn't mean that it's not affecting other areas of the body. So having Suzanne, Dr. Steinbaum on board is a dream come true because this is that equation. I know you love to say 1 + 1 =
10.
10. So in this case, this is 1 + 1 = 1,000.
This really is. And the other thing about the way that you both practice, and again, getting back to the ethos of the center, is getting to the root cause of what's going on. And Suzanne, you ask questions about your patient's health that I don't know if I've ever been to a different cardiologist that would even know to ask those questions, to figure out what's going on, to figure out why somebody's having these issues. And I know you did it with me, and it turns out there wasn't even a problem. And it was amazing. And just to be able to be heard by somebody, to be listened to, is so valuable. And one of the things I want to ask you about too, and I think some of our listeners, they don't even know this, but women's heart health and men's heart health, and you do treat men and women.
I only treat men that are attached to women. And the women have to like them. That's the other caveat.
But it's very different. It's very different. And the way that modern medicine focuses on men's heart health and women's heart health is very different. And women really aren't heard in this space. So you're very much giving women a voice, if you'd like to talk about that.
Oh, boy. I'm going to talk about this for the next 3 hours.
Go for it.
Down, everyone.
We need to hear it.
You know, I've been doing this for so long, and it's amazing because even every day, and actually Juhi, since I joined there, has appreciated how much women aren't heard the same way, and they're not listened to the same way. There is a true inequality and disparity of care, and we see that there are multiple studies showing that when women go to the emergency room, they don't get the same treatment. There was one study that blows my mind. A male patient and a woman patient reading the same script, going into an emergency room, reading the same exact thing. The woman was discharged with the diagnosis of anxiety, and the man was admitted with the diagnosis of potentially having a heart attack.
Wow.
So I'm not making this up. We can also look at other studies that show when women have a heart attack, they're less likely to be given life-saving treatments. They're less likely to be discharged on life-saving medications. when they go into an outpatient facility and talk to their primary care doctor, they're less likely to be treated and prevented for heart disease or have it even discussed. And in fact, there's one study that shows that doctors will talk to them more about their weight than their risk for heart disease. So I get really upset. And I have gotten really, really upset from the beginning of this whole time because it's not only not okay, it makes women at such a disadvantage. And the reason I've been educating and communicating is because I'm trying to give women a voice to advocate for themselves. And more than that, be empowered and know that they can get the help they need. We just have to put it in the hands of the women, because I have to say, sometimes the system fails these women.
Absolutely. And we actually have to cut to our first commercial break, but Suzanne, I could listen to you talk forever. For more information on Dr. Suzanne Steinbaum, on Juhi, or any information about the Juhi Ash Center, you can call the office at 212-758-3200. That's 212-758-3200. We're located at 800A 5th Avenue at 61st Street in Manhattan, overlooking beautiful Central Park.
It's beautiful.
Or you can go online, at www.juhiashcenter.com. That's JUHIASH center.com. And we'll be right back right after this.